Welcome to the Property Maintenance Show. We're brought to you by Octagon Work Services, and we're here to discuss our main mission, which is the property management industry, discussing vendor relations, discussing homeowner and tenant situations, and of course, controversial topics, and also stuff that no one else wants to talk about. So, hope you enjoy the show, and let's get started.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Property Maintenance Show. I'm here with my co-host Albert Taylor and myself Paul Quayle. We have a property management doctor with us today. The multi-family apartment doctor is with us and we're going to be asking some very interesting questions and topics related to the multi-family properties and the property management industry in general. We are here today with Ross, the owner of Multi-Family Apartment Doctor. Thank you so much for joining us, Ross. How are you
Welcome.
today?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Awesome. Doing good.
We're very well, thank you. It's certainly a pleasure to have you on the show today. So yeah, I really just want to jump in and kind of get started, from the beginning. How did Multi-Family Apartment Doctor get started? What's your story there?
So I started 33 years ago, so I'm 35 years old. And that was supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
And I got it. Both my sides of my family were in real estate. So my grandfather on my father's side was an auctioneer and appraiser. He worked with Donald Trump's father. And my other grandfather was in the mortgage business. So it was kind of beat up into me early in life that I was going to do real estate. So I moved to Las Vegas from New Jersey, and when you're not 21 in Las Vegas, there's not much to do, especially I looked very young at the time. So I noticed when I went to different apartment complexes that, it was women, 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 women. I thought, man, this would be a great way to meet women. So I decided I wanted to try and get into the industry. So I was living at an apartment complex, and I said to the leasing agent, hey, I'll give you $100 the next time your owners tell me, they're going to be at the property. So she let me know. I got all dressed up. They came in the door. I was like, hi, how are you? Welcome to such and such. And I was trying to sell them an apartment. They said, oh, we're the owners. When did you start? And I handed them the application. I said, I started now. So they signed the application, and that's how I got into the industry. How did the year start? So I've had different companies over the years, but I think that when you're in property management, you have to analyze things. So I've always compared it to when you're sick, you go to the doctor, they give you a prescription. So when you're dealing with owners and managers and they're having issues, well, you analyze it. So I'm the doctor, and I'll give a prescription to get it fixed and resolved.
Oh, yeah. Awesome concept. Yeah, I like the doctor way. It's, in all sense of the word, you're actually providing like a cure, right? A fix to their problems.
Yes, and as a doctor, and with the apartments, there's so many different prescriptions you can get from some of the residents that we can make some of the people feel very good from some of the nice concoctions that they have. So I have a funny story. When I was first a manager, I was in this property in Vegas. It's all the way out on Lake Mead. It was in the middle of nowhere. It was called Victory Village, and it was sort of like the day in the life of Huckleberry Finn. It was like in the middle of absolutely nowhere. So I moved into the property because that was part of my compensation, was to live at the property. So a building or two down, we were getting complaints like, there's a smell coming out of the apartment, this and that, this and that. So we walked the apartment, and the people were actually doing a meth lab. So, we had police investigate, and they finally arrested the people. And, the guy's like, I know where you live. I know what apartment you're in. I'll be back. So that was my first experience as a property manager. So I've worked on properties so bad that I used to have to carry a bat. So people called me Batman, because I never knew what the hell was going to happen with me when I was going to go and collect their rent.
Okay, but you're the doctor too, so you can fix them up afterwards.
At that time, I wasn't the doctor. At that time, I was Batman, and then as I moved up in life, then I became the doctor.
Okay.
So I guess that was me doing an internship before I started my own business.
Okay. Well, I thought I had it bad managing LA. I guess I can't complain anymore.
Yeah, we've done a lot of projects in LA with rent control buildings and things of that nature. So, my company's national. So, like today I'm in Dayton, Ohio. We're fixing a project that a management company didn't do the best job. So we've had to go in and re-tenant the property and get units ready and things of that nature. So yes, living in San Diego, doing work in LA, and then coming to a place in Dayton, Ohio, it's completely night and day. The concepts are the same. When you go into a project, you need to have, tools, good salespeople, money to be able to turn apartments. If they want to, re-tenant or reposition the property, it's no different than doing something on the West Coast and East Coast. It's just dealing with different personalities, different clientele. And then, of course, the markets are, completely different. The cost of living in Dayton, of course, is completely different than the cost of living in San Diego and LA. So, but you come up with a formula and you use that formula to gauge on, okay, what do we need to do? But, in 32 years, there's different technology, but the concepts are still the same. And what's interesting is, when COVID hit, and then, the world shut down, and, here I am with a business, and, there's this moratorium that goes out and says, hey, you can't evict people, you can't do this and that. So people, my clients called me like, what are we going to do? I don't even know if we need you anymore, this and that. So I had to really come up with a thought process on, okay, the world's going to reopen. And what the thought process was exactly what happened, was that I wasn't afraid to go on a plane. My wife had COVID, and, she was sick for 45 days in the very beginning, and I was next to her, and, I never got it, thank God. So I was not afraid to go travel. And since nobody else could go travel to the properties, then I was the one going and looking and seeing just how it was. And, what is so funny is that, there's all these different things now, and people think they can manage properties virtual, but at the end of the day, if you're not at a property and you're not face to face with people, you have no idea what's going on. And people just don't get that. Owners that live out of state and they're relying on a property management company and they're not there to touch it, feel it, put some pressure on, things of that nature, you just don't know what's going on. So when I go out to some of these properties and I go back to these owners and, they act shell-shocked that they can't believe how it's running, I tell them, I'm like, well, this is your multi-dollar investment. This is your fault for not going and checking the property. So even with all this technology, it's still a face-to-face business. It's still a business that you need to go be personal with people, and that you got to see what's going on, because no matter the greatest management company you have, if you're not going out to visit your property, there's no pressure on the management company. There's no pressure on the manager. And your people are not self-motivated all the time. So if life is good, life is good. If the owner's happy and life is good, well then why do they need to put more pressure, raise more rents, do whatever, because life is good? And that's just the world that we live in. I think in any job, that if there's no pressure and life is good, well then why should I rock the boat, change things, come up with things? So that's why we go out and we look at things, and we've been successful. And it's all about people. It's all about finding the right people. And with COVID that happened, it's so hard to go and recruit people now and find people. They can make as much money staying home and doing TikTok. So, why do they need to go and work an 8-to-5 job when they'll make the same money at home? So it's been very challenging to go out and find new blood to come into the industry.
Definitely, yeah. Actually, yeah, I kind of wondered about that. Yeah, so you have non-responsive tenants and everybody's virtual. It's kind of like, okay, now what do we do now?
Yeah, I mean, when COVID hit and we went out to these properties, and you're dealing with so many people that, took advantage of the system. And don't get me wrong, there were people that they lost their jobs and they were in a bad situation, and you're having to be empathetic. You have to be empathetic and business minded at the same way. Yes, you lost your job. Yes, it's terrible what's going on. We have this terrible virus. And at the same time, there has to be an end all where they were going to start to pay rent. So we did what a lot of people did, which was offering people cash for keys that if we needed to pay them some money to, move and build it, that's what we did. And believe it or not, we were very successful going and talking to people. The management companies really struggled with this. And again, I'm originally a New Yorker, and I think when you're very blunt and transparent with people, that they get it. And even today, with COVID being over, if somebody can't afford the rent, would you rather go through this lengthy eviction process or let them leave and start life over?
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of people may not agree with that concept, but at the end of the day, if somebody doesn't have money, they don't have money. And we live in a world where you can send people to collections. People can go file bankruptcy and life starts over and things start over and they get approved again. So, my logic behind it is, what, if somebody's not going to pay, we need to let them go. Let them go and start over, and let's get somebody into the apartment that's going to pay rent. But yeah, you're right. If you try to do things virtually and you're not talking to people and you're not going to door knock their apartment and they don't feel any pressure, then yeah, why should they go pay rent?
But yeah, there's a lot of things we can do virtually, but yeah, there are some things that need a physical person there too.
Right.
Yeah, I think like you said, it is a face-to-face industry. For example, like leasing agents can never be virtual, right? They need to be kind of out and on the move, especially with field agents as well. I do feel like the maintenance department can have virtual maintenance coordinators.
And I want to take a second when you talked about virtual leasing agents. A lot of places right now, you can work as have a lockbox on an apartment and you don't even need a leasing agent. So a lot of people are, here's the key, go look at an apartment. And, but at the end of the day, again, if you're not talking to somebody and they're just walking and seeing an apartment, you don't know what they like, dislike, how you're going to sell them, how you're going to overcome objections, etc. As far as the artificial thing, yes, there's a lot of people right now that are saving money and they have a call center going to the Philippines and going to wherever else. And you're right, you're dealing with a Google Assistant. And, because most of these people now are working from home. It's always interesting talking to somebody and their dog's barking in the background, a baby's crying, and they're frying food and they're talking to you. So again, I do think it takes away. I do think that, again, it's a very frustrating thing that you're going to have a phone call and you need to talk to somebody and you need to reach somebody. And again, a lot of these virtual assistants, you'll never even get a call back. We had a situation on a property that they had a laundry issue and we couldn't reach the laundry company. And you're right, we're dealing with these AIs and we'll let the people know and they'll call you back and this and that. And we would make 2 to 3 weeks worth of phone calls. So it took me posting something on Facebook saying, hey, if you work for this company, we need to reach you. So it went from Facebook to LinkedIn to finally get in touch with the person. And they even they admitted, they said like, we're having a problem with our AI and we need to switch and we need to do this. But at the end of the day, the client was done because, they wanted some response. And they wanted a callback. So I don't see that changing. Again, when you can pay an AI company, 70% less than what you would pay an actual person, then we live in a society where that's acceptable now, where 20 to 30 years ago, that wasn't acceptable. So it's a frustrating thing, but it's not going to change. And it's not just in my industry, it's in all industries right now.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you, Ross. Like, it's so frustrating, getting like the AI bot and you're like, I just want to speak to a human being here. And you're like going through these steps. And then like, for example, like Google Assistant's going, so what is your message? And I leave the message. Thank you for your message. We will get that over to the person and we will schedule a call back. I'm still waiting, by the way.
You're still like, yeah, sure you will.
But I think the reason AI is not going to work is because, the property management industry is based on human emotions, right? So for example, in maintenance, right? Because I was a maintenance manager and Albert was a maintenance coordinator as well. So our experience is based on maintenance. That really is based on, having empathy and understanding, right? Or understanding when a tenant's angry or when a homeowner's upset. I don't think AI is able to, it doesn't have human emotions. So that's
yeah, that's a good point. The project that we're doing in Dayton, they were using a answering machine, and then of course somebody that's on call would need to call back the answering machine, and we switched that to having a live person talk, get in touch with who they needed to reach, and to follow up and make sure the work was being done. And then when the staff comes in the morning, they'll see the email, they'll see what happened and what was going on. So because again, we definitely want that attention. Maintenance right now is the hardest position to fill in the property management industry right now. I mean, maintenance people are making double and triple what they were making 10 years ago because they can go work in construction, they can start their own business, and they'll make more money. So a lot of these management companies are having to give sign-on bonuses and whatever it takes to get a good maintenance person. There's a lot of trade schools right now that are teaching maintenance, and I encourage management companies to work with the trade school because at the end of the day, they may have to be mentored, but you're going to get them at a reasonable price. And these are people that actually want to go into the industry. But, a maintenance supervisor right now can make $35, $40 an hour, if not more, depending on the market. And at the end of the day, if people find out they're good, then somebody's going to pay even more to try and steal them. So now when property management people are doing their budgets and they have to look at paying these people more money for maintenance, and the property only makes so much cash flow, it's like the chicken and the egg scenario. So you definitely have to find good people. You have to find people that are going to be good dealing with the tenants. And again, right now, because we're still dealing with COVID, there's all these different strands that keep coming out. There's going to be more viruses. This is just the beginning that I tell people. So the people that you have on site, they have to be leaders. And if they're not, and they can't reach their regional, or their regional's out of state, and they're overseeing the property out of state, and there's no local presence, these managers are left to deal with chaos. And that was what happened with COVID, is that these regionals, these asset managers, nobody could go to the properties. The companies wouldn't let them go. So you have these managers that, again, they're dealing with their own lives of having COVID, and they're dealing with a whole building that's dealing with COVID. And it was just a horrible thing. And you know what? It's going to happen again. I don't think the world will shut down, but it's going to happen again. That it really should have shown people what kind of teams do you have on site. And if people haven't made those corrections, shame on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely believe that. Yeah, I was actually telling Paul, this isn't the end of the virus. I mean, there's going to be a bigger one or a better one, and it's going to be a lifestyle, I guess, in 10 to 15 years. Yeah, it's another virus. So, well, yeah.
And I do agree with you, Ross. Like, having a strong maintenance department is kind of key, to make sure that, the maintenance department's running smoothly. If you have a team that's just like, for example, they're just there for the 9 to 5, and they're not really, they don't have empathy with tenants and homeowners. Yeah, either they need to be trained more, or they shouldn't be there. They shouldn't be in that position. And it is hard to find the right team. I know when I was, working in the maintenance department, and we went through like 4 employees. It was like just shift and rotate constantly. Like, they were gone in 6 months, and then someone new's in, and then a few months later, one of my other colleagues is gone. So it's just like trying to find the right team does take time. It is quite difficult.
Yeah, we're training them, and they're like, "What's a leak?" So, okay. Well, it's kind of like this. Water comes out and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and again, the one thing you can't train people on is attitude. And it's either something you wake up in the morning and you have, it's something that's a controllable, it's controllable. And, I always tell people, I'm not Peter Pan. I don't have pixie dust, and I'm going to say, all right, you're going to be happy today. So that's something that you really, when you're doing the interview process and you're doing your best to figure out what personality that you're dealing with, that you have to really look and, if this person has an adversarial personality, well, that's probably not going to change. If this person is, like you said, a 9 to 5 person, then that's the person that you're dealing with. So the leadership of the companies have to create that environment and showing that they're giving support to the on-site people and they're giving support to the maintenance people. I mean, these guys and girls are on the roofs in 130-degree heat, or they're dealing with broken pipes in negative 20-degree weather. And there has to be leadership and empathy. And, a little thank you card goes a long way. A $5 Starbucks card goes a long way in just people being appreciated. And the funniest thing is, when I do training classes, we do this exercise. And I'll have like managers and maintenance or managers and leasing people. And I'll ask, all right, what is your leasing agent's favorite food? What does your maintenance person likes to do on the weekend? And when these people don't have answers, it shows that there's not that kind of camaraderie. And again, finding out, what people are going on with their lives. And if you don't know what you're going on at home, and they're bringing some baggage into work and you're not empathetic about it, you end up terminating possibly a good person.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good point. Yeah, I agree with that a lot, actually. Yeah, it's if you don't know your employees and, I mean, at least what they like or what they don't like, yeah, you're not connecting at all.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so I do want to go back because you made a very good point, Ross, where the younger generation are more interested to do TikTok, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because it makes money just sitting at home. So my question to you is, how do we get the younger generation into the property management industry?
So I've had the opportunity to teach at some of the colleges and, incorporate property management. And some of the management companies right now are doing internships. So it's taking people, I would say, starting off in a senior in high school, a freshman that's going into college, and really explaining what the property management world is and how beneficial it is and how they can make a really good living at it, so that somebody really understands it. Because people don't really understand going into real estate and going into property management. And a lot of people get their real estate license and either they're not salespeople or they don't know how to generate leads. So they're going to go into real estate and they're expected to make this big money and they don't have the tools. So going into the property management industry, they're going to learn, and, again, we don't want them necessarily to leave, but they're going to be able to use their real estate license and meet people and people that are looking to, eventually step up and buy a house and do things. So I think at a young age, people have to realize that this is a flourishing business, the same way that people at a young age need to realize that, man, your dad was a plumber and you've learned all these different things. And imagine if you enjoy doing that, how you can go and help an apartment community. And again, the money that you can make doing this. So it's going to these career fairs and management companies being involved in the school system, and, people in the colleges really understanding what kind of curriculum should be in property management. Because when I taught in the college and they had a real estate curriculum and then we brought in a property management curriculum, it was totally different. And it's getting more people at a young age to understand it. And there's always people that want to go into real estate. It's really them understanding that property management is a big part of real estate. And also, there's a lot of need for people that, are bilingual or, different languages depending on the properties. And those people really need to realize, how beneficial it is. When you hire somebody that's bilingual, maintenance or management, and you interview somebody bilingual compared to somebody not bilingual, and you're on a property where 90% of it is bilingual, they're going to hire the bilingual person because they need to communicate, even though the other person will say, well, I can figure it out. a bilingual person that doesn't know that much English, they feel comfortable talking to a bilingual person. It's just what it is. So getting into these different schools and environments and communities is how we're going to continue to recruit and get good people. And believe it or not, when you put an ad on TikTok or you put an ad on social media looking for a leasing person, they're going to gravitate to that. You know, the younger generation isn't necessarily looking on Indeed anymore. They're finding stuff out on Facebook and all these different groups that you can join on Facebook, and you have to be posting. And you'll notice now that these management companies, they're coming up with videos. They're showing people, you know, hey, you know, Donna just got promoted, and you know, we want to congratulate Donna. And it's showing people, you know, what kind of company they can be a part of and a part of a team. So you got to do these things. And a lot of these marketing departments for these management companies, a lot of that has changed, where that marketing person really needs to be able to be really, you know, computer savvy, and that they know how to get in touch with these groups.
Well, you did mention the demand, right? There's a lot more demand. We actually had a conversation with the person from Canada, and it's pretty similar to California. The tenant laws are much more in favor of the tenant. So a lot of these homeowners are forced to go to the property management companies now. So that is raising the demand.
Yep, that's not going to change. I don't see the lack of, I mean, you don't see in markets that there's this big ratio that, you know, properties don't need people. And that's not going to change. And again, you're right. The generation we're dealing with now is a totally different generation when I started. I mean, when I started, if you didn't grow and continue to get educated in the business, that there was always somebody that could replace you. Now, if you have to go find a property manager, and you know, you could be looking for weeks, because either they're making a lot of money where they're at, or you don't have somebody qualified. A lot of the qualified people, if you're not recruiting from other companies, they're not available. So it's a lot of effort. I mean, we have management companies that are taking over other buildings that other management companies weren't successful in, and they're taking weeks to go find somebody. And it's a lot of work. So, you know, HR, the position has totally changed, because a lot of them are doing it virtual, and a lot of these HR people need to be able to go in and try new things to attract people.
There you go on TikTok.
Everybody listening to this will be like, all right, let's all jump on TikTok and making an ad. But
Maybe.
You know, the funny thing is, my wife likes to do these, you know, they're all doing these commercials and these different things, and starting these videos and getting all these likes and stars and different things. And, you know, it's funny. At first, it was really funny to me. It's like, all right, you know, I'm getting up and working out today, or, you know, watch me do Zumba. All right, I'm going to teach you how to do food and this and that. And it's funny, because when you go and look at how many people are watching these things and, you know, checking in and, you know, writing their opinion and giving the stars and the thumbs up, it's amazing to me how many people are on there watching it. And especially when you see what time of day that they're watching it. So as funny as it is, you better be creating these commercials, because people are watching.
Yeah.
And they're tuning in from all over. So as funny as it is, it's the new normal.
Yeah, I need to try that someday.
Yeah, I would like to see someone in the property management industry to create a TikTok video where, let's say they're working in maintenance and the homeowner approves a big repair, and they create a dance for that.
A dance, maybe,
you know,
on their desk.
like, yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, Ross. I think a lot of things are changing, and it is because of technology and, you know, social media, and especially research as well. I think that kind of segues into kind of my next question here, because I know tenants, they can research a lot of laws and a lot of things. And do you feel that makes, for example, like the eviction process a lot more difficult with tenants?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the tenants that, know how to play the system, they're playing the system. So that goes back to really having to negotiate so that, if in some markets, if you go and you serve them notice and they go and they appeal the notice and then they get another 30 days to stay for free and then something else comes up. When I got to this project, there was a resident that he was on this 6-month plan that he didn't have to pay rent for 6 months because of maintenance repair. And, again, he played the system. And you know what? I mean, if you think about it, if sometimes you need to, then you need to. So it's a lot harder. They're a lot more knowledgeable. To the gray area of life is you got to be real with people. You need to say, look, eventually this is going to go on your record. You're going to get evicted. And the eviction now is even more prevalent because of ways of getting data. If somebody goes and applies for an apartment and they weren't honest that, they got evicted or they had to leave or they had to turn in keys and why, these people are going to get denied because nobody's going to want to deal with that again. So the resident tenant needs to be transparent and the people on site need to be transparent, and there has to be a happy medium. And the answer isn't always it's just like when you have a problem, you go to a lawyer, the lawyer wins. So it's sort of like dealing with a tenant, a resident that, is it worth spending all this money going to court? They're never leaving. They're pissed. You're pissed. Or is it being transparent and coming up with a happy medium where you work with them so that they can leave, and at the same time that you're not creating that adversarial environment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's not that hard communicating, right? Come to some agreement.
No, I mean, everybody, you know what, everybody has something, right? So we all go through financial problems, situations. You look at the 5 stresses in life: financial and death and having children and things of that nature. And, the biggest thing right now is either financial or everybody in life has experienced a death. We all have these different symptoms that are coming up, and, mental health is, so much different now than it was 30 years ago, that you have to look at all these situations, and every situation you have to handle it differently. I have a leasing agent that, would just like to know, black and white, black and white, and black and white. And I said that it's not all black and white, that there is gray. You have to be able to adjust to the gray. But you have people still today that are very dinosaurish, and they're doing things the way they did 30 years ago, and they're expecting the same results, and you're not going to get the same results. And if somebody needs to leave and they know the law, and even if they don't know the law, as long as you're very transparent and they know that, just like a child and a parent, you're not going to tolerate certain things when they step on boundaries, then you're going to be able to get these people out, get new people in, and at the same time, they're not writing these terrible reviews
that too.
that affect you.
Mm-hmm.
And, right now, everybody can write a review. Everybody can research you. It's funny when I meet a potential person I'm going to work with, and they'll be like, oh, I went on your Facebook page, and, oh, you used to be a comedian, a bodybuilder. Oh, I like your family, this and that. And I'm like, oh, my God, what a stalker. And that's the world we live in today. I'm always thankful that I have a partner in life, because if I had to go into the dating world and this person wanted to research me before I went on a date, I don't know, it'd be a 50-50 if I was actually going to be able to go out with somebody, because they're going to open Pandora's box possibly.
So, oh my gosh, you did that?
Oh, no, I have people all the time saying, oh, I researched you. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you got a lot of time on your hands.
Yeah.
So, but that's the world we live in, right? Everybody can find out everything. Everybody can post. Everybody can write a review. Everybody can, share their opinion. And you got to be prepared. And if you're not, and you're not doing something about it, you're going to get ripped apart on social media and reviews and things of that nature.
So what do you think's the best resolution? For example, let's say you get a bad review, right? Someone posts a bad review. how is the best way to handle that?
You got to respond to it. And there's nothing you can do. Perception is reality. So everybody that writes a review, it's their perception. And there's always two sides to every story. So you need to answer it. You need to be transparent. If something happened, you need to apologize for it. And I think that how you answer that review is just as much as somebody that leaves a review. And you can't play the blame game, or it is what it is. I've had a bad review. I mean, I've had people that, haven't liked my service or how we did things and things of that nature. And, I respond to it. And some of them are cruel. Some people are just miserable people. So you do your best to respond to it, to answer it. And people have to make a choice if they still want to get to know you, try a restaurant, do whatever. And do the best that you can. But, again, we're going to have more technology. We're going to have more reviews. We're going to have more ways of researching people and restaurants and different things. And with the apartments, you better be fixing things. And you better do the best that you can to take care of things. And it's really up to the owner to give the tools to the management company and to the on-site staff to have money to fix things and do things and make the property better. And there's a lot of slumlords out there, and there's a lot of managers that don't have the tools to be successful. And you're dealing with residents every day that are complaining, and in the back of your mind, you don't have the money to buy parts. So there's no way to make them happy. But the owners have so much more pressure on them now, because in the past, it's like, all right, I'm going to write a letter to such and such. Well, now you're going to post something, research something, email somebody, and it's a lot easier to get their case resolved for the tenant.
Mm-hmm. That's true, yeah. That's also something we do. We review company reviews. So we take both sides of the story and we give our opinion on that, which is really fun. I mean, I can't deny that. We have a blast reviewing reviews. So
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, the one thing I agree with you, Ross, like responding to the actual review is great, right? Because when I look at it, a lot of property management companies just ignore it, right? And that's not the best way. You should take ownership, right? At the end of the day, that's their company, and you need to stand up. And the thing with tenants, right, is sometimes they just go on a rant. So it's not specific. Like I'm trying to read like a bad review, and I'm like, what exactly did the property management company do wrong? Because they're not like outlining it. So, I always advise tenants or anyone that's listening that is a current tenant, if you are going to write something that's negative, make sure it's specific and why. Why is it negative? So there's a difference
Right.
between going off on a rant and then actually being specific. Like the reason I'm giving 1 star is because of these following reasons. If it's just a rant,
a lot of times it's because the maintenance request wasn't taken care of.
Yeah.
It wasn't taken care of
Right.
in a timely fashion.
Yeah.
There was an attitude that was presented to them. And at the end of the day, they're the ones that are paying everybody's bill. So they should be treated with respect. Their things need to get fixed. And it needs to be in a timely response. And the on-site staff have to be empathetic. I mean, we live in a high-rise, and we live there because of the view, because the response time isn't the greatest. And, the management company isn't the greatest. But we live in San Diego, and we have a view of Coronado and Mexico and the bridge. So, we live there because of them. But if somebody on an elevator said to me, oh, we're looking to live here, would you live here? I'd say, well, if you want to enjoy the view. But if you're looking for all the bells and whistles and service, it's not where we live.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, the worst one I ever saw, Ross, was I think a tenant called an employee the Antichrist. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that is like extreme.
Yeah, it was funny.
Like, I agree with you, like some of them, and then like some of the worst property management company ever. That's all they say. And I'm like,
But why?
but why?
Yeah,
Why
Yeah.
is
we're
it?
interested
We
now.
need more. there's not enough information here. You're just
Just renting.
so yeah. Yeah, I disagree with that. I think if they are going to post something, it has to actually make sense and actually have some like key points to why it was a bad service.
Yeah.
And the property management company needs that because when they see a clear bad review, that's their opportunity to improve, right? And look at it and go, okay, what did we do wrong here? And talk to their team and then improve their service. So again, for tenants, like, please detail your responses. Don't just one word.
Right.
or,
Yeah, I agree with you.
or call anyone the Antichrist. I think that's too far.
Yeah. Well, if you are, say why. Yeah, so we can have it on our show.
Well, that would be good. That would be a good podcast to have the Antichrist person on your show, and yeah, that would be a big scenario.
That would be funny. Yeah, I agree.
So Ross, I wanted to ask, since you're, the property management doctor, right? What is the cure for managing multifamily properties?
You have to have good people. You have to have good systems. You have to have good people. You need to be able to give people service. You need to, when you sell from the beginning, I always, when I teach a class, I talk about how leasing an apartment is getting married, and when it's time for lease renewal, it's like getting a divorce. And, what you promise, you better keep to the promise. The service that you're promising, you need to keep to it. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the right teams, you don't have the right leaders, they don't have the right support, they don't have the right systems, they're not going to be successful. And there's a percentage of management companies that are phenomenal, and there's a percentage of management companies that may not be phenomenal because it's a turn and burn business. And some of these management companies, they need to take on properties to get that profit margin so that they can continue to grow. So it's also a matter of how much can you possibly grow? And with that growth, do you have enough people to be able to take over these different projects? I've been very fortunate in my career to work with some really good people, leaders. I remember days working around the clock, wanting to be a sponge and learn from, their experiences. And, I do my best right now to be a mentor so that I'm teaching these people the tools that they need to be successful. So if you're a good management company, you have good people, you have good leadership, the employees are engaged, they feel like they can grow and move up in the company, and they really want to, they want to be part of a company that's going to be their home and career for 30 and 40 years and whatever it takes. So, and also the management companies have to take over good properties. There's a lot of slumlords out there. There's a lot of people that try to nickel and dime. And I don't work with those people, and some management companies shouldn't work with those people because it's hard enough in life to deal with people and having the tools. So imagine if you don't have the tools. It's just not worth it. And a lot of people get hired and they don't realize what they're getting hired into. So it's a very stressful situation. I think the other thing that's important that a lot of people don't get is you got to learn to shut off your phone. You got to learn to get off your email. I'll always joke around. I'll be like, hey, who hasn't taken a vacation in the last 5 years? And, how many of you don't take a lunch? And little things like that. And the leadership has to encourage people to have lives, to go home to their families, and to have those boundaries. And a lot of people, they don't get that the work's always going to be there tomorrow, and they're burnt out because, not only are they working during the day, they're working when they go home at night.
Oh, yeah.
And their spouse doesn't want to see them glued to the phone, and at 11 o'clock at night, they're sending emails and, they're up responding. And to be transparent, I used to be one of those people. I felt that was needed to be done. And then you look back and say, where was that money from that project that I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning, or answering the calls on the weekend, or, not spending time with the family. And you don't realize that, that time you can't get back, and as you get older and your health changes and you watch people pass away and do stuff, you say to yourself, man, we're on this hourglass. Where's the time? But these management companies, some of them, they have an expectation, even on somebody taking their vacation time, that, just check your email and do that. No, they're on vacation, and they better have good people on site that can handle it when they're on vacation. And a lot of these companies don't support those different things, and they need to. This business and this industry is tough, just like any industry, and it's very easy to get burnt out. And that's why a lot of people switch companies, because they are looking for the company that has boundaries. And if you do a good job and you have a good company and support system, you can have those boundaries and weekends and things of that nature. So it's people understanding that they need to turn off, and it's companies encouraging them to turn off.
That's a good point. Yeah, yeah. It's when we had our company trip, me and Paul in our last company, there was nobody to cover us. So yeah, that was basically the thing. Yeah, check your email and answer the calls, and but we're on a company trip. Yeah, we're supposed to be like doing activities and stuff, not like dealing with attendance.
Right. And again, a lot of spouses, they want you to shut it off. And, I'll deal with employees, and you can just tell that they came to work stressed because they don't know how to shut it off. I'll tell one quick story. I had somebody that was a manager for 5 years, and they never had anything wrong, nothing, like no demerits, awards, all kinds of different things. So the manager got COVID and had to take time off of work just like anybody else, showed the COVID test, had COVID, etc. So this manager missed like 2 weeks worth of work. They had used up their comp time, sick time, etc. So now, of course, the manager's getting ready to go back to work, and the 2 kids got COVID. And the manager didn't have somebody that could watch the kids. And of course, who really wants to watch the kids and take a chance of getting COVID? So the manager had to stay home and take care of the kids, and missed an additional week's worth of work. And what happened was the manager said, look, I know I missed an extra week. I don't have the comp time anymore. I can't afford to lose the comp time. Can I make up the hours? I don't want to lose my salary for a week. The management company said no. Oh. And so what happened was this manager of 5 years, property was stable, doing well, great people, great stuff. They gave notice. Now, the owner didn't know that this manager gave notice right away. So by the time the management company said to the owner, oh, such and such is going to leave, and of course the owner's in shock. Why is this person leaving? Well, they missed all this time. They had COVID, then the kids got COVID, and the manager asked for another week's pay. The owner said, this person's been here for 5 years and successful. I'll happily pay the extra week's pay. Well, by that time, manager already found a good project. They were disgusted. They were turned off. I don't blame them. There needs to be a little empathy and latitude, especially somebody that was that stable. And the owner fired the management company just for that. And again, how easy it would have been for the management company to say, hey, we have the situation, what do you think? And again, the management company was so regimented in their rules that they lost a good employee.
Mm-hmm. And a homeowner too, right?
The owner. Yeah, the owner lost an employee, and they were disgusted and fired the management company because they couldn't believe that they let that kind of person leave that project. Mm-hmm. And that project ended up turning the wrong way because it was very hard to fill that person's shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Paul has a pretty similar story as well. Yeah. When we left, there were some homeowners that only wanted Paul. He was like their teddy bear there.
Yeah. So I do know of one. Yeah, when I left, they also, I believe either the property management company fired the owner or the owner fired them. Again, I don't know which one it was.
So a bit of both.
Yeah.
It may have been a little bit of both, right? But yeah, you know, when an owner starts to trust someone with their property, like that's their main point of contact,
Right.
right? So when they phone in, they're like, yeah, I want Paul. Oh, Paul's at lunch. Can I help you?
No.
No, I want Paul. Tell him when he comes back from his lunch, phone me please straight away. So then I'm at lunch, I come back, and then I get this message like, yeah, you need to call such and such. But I think, you know, that's just, you know, the passion, right? So once you're doing it every single day, you love it, you know.
People
I
see that.
I like I like helping homeowners when I was in maintenance. I loved resolving challenging issues because it felt so rewarding, you know, especially water leaks, right? To be able to catch a water leak on time and avoid damages to the homeowner's property made me feel good. So
No, I've been very blessed to take on projects, training seminars, and meeting some really incredible people, incredible leaders, looking at some incredible companies that really get it. And, you know, like you said, I still have a passion to do it. You know, I enjoy what I do. At a position in life which I can pick and choose what clients that I want to work with, what projects that I want to, you know, work and do. I travel a lot, so if I'm going to travel, I want to make it that I can make a difference. It's not always about the money. It's about where I feel I can make a difference and help somebody. So I only hope that people that are listening and that are in the industry or going into the industry, that they'll have some of those same experiences.
Okay, yeah, awesome. We'd like to thank you, Ross, for your time. Unfortunately, we're reaching the end of our program here. So yeah, for anybody looking for an amazing property management company in Ohio, we'll put all the Ross's details here and a little brief commercial. So yeah, feel free to reach out to Ross for any of your property management needs. So,
No, I appreciate it. And yeah, we're national. So anybody throughout the United States that needs help, you know, that's what we're here to do.
awesome.
yep, and definitely a part two will be coming as well. I'm sure there's many other topics that Ross can give his opinion, his advice, and his wisdom. So we'll certainly be working on a part two very soon. But again, as always, thank you so much, Ross, for joining us today. It has been a pleasure. And until next time, everyone, thank you so much for listening and watching.
It has been
We'll
fun.
see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.